Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen, and welcome to Dave and Jen Ignite.
We're glad you're with us today, and we have a topic that some might consider prying or
Maybe
hitting close to home.
being a little intrusive, perhaps?
We hope not.
Oh, no.
We think it's important.
Very.
And it's been a topic that's been a great blessing and sometimes challenge for us.
Absolutely. And it's also been a topic that was recommended by one of our viewers. So thank you for suggesting that we do a video on that.
So we want to get into the topic of giving with hilarity.
Or tithing.
Which one sounds better to you?
I like giving with hilarity much better.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, Matthew 6:21. I've been told that if you are ever looking for something that can be close to a shortcut to growing deeper in your walk with Jesus Christ, and there are really none other than perhaps this one, because this verse says this, and I'll read starting at verse 19. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And that last verse is the key there. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Well, I want my heart to be the Lord's. I want Him to be the focal point. Still got lots of growing to do in that area.
We all do.
But this is a great place to start. To make sure that the storing up of treasures, where I place my priority for giving, my budget, I want to put God number one. Just store up for my treasures in heaven, not on earth. That's the crucial part, critical part, however you want to say it. That's the most important part. And that can be where we take a giant leap forward. I had one pastor tell me, he said he wasn't much of a believer in a second work of grace, like some folks do, unless perhaps it was that step of faith that people take to go from not tithing into tithing. And it seemed like that was a huge second step, a second work of grace, as some people phrase it.
I can see that. I can see that very much.
Matthew says it clearly. If you want to grow, if you want to just make sure that you're prepared for heaven in a sense, store your treasures up there.
Right.
Put what's your highest priority, your giving. Store up for your treasures in heaven. Another place, and this one strikes more of the command part. And thank you, Jennifer. This is from Malachi, and this is one you usually hear in church when we preach on it, or when we hear somebody preaching on it. It says this: Will a mere mortal man rob God? Yet you rob me. But you ask, how are we robbing you? In tithes and offerings. You are under a curse, your whole nation, because you are robbing me. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. So here's the command to tithe. We're told that we are robbing God if we are not tithing. Now, does God need our money?
Heavens, no.
No, He doesn't. So it's not like we're robbing God from something that He desperately needs, but we're not obeying His command. We're not doing what He's told us to do. And in that sense, we're keeping something from God that is His. We want to give the full tithe into the storehouse. Tithe to your local church. Give that 10%. By the way, a tithe means 10%. So out of every $10, one goes to the local church. That's living out a loving, and there's the key word, loving obedience to God. And we've experienced that.
Oh, we sure have. It's interesting because sometimes on paper it doesn't make sense. And we have been there. We know. You look at your budget and you say, there's just no possible way that we are going to be able to give even a 10% that we would like to, and much less an offering above that to perhaps another ministry. But even the 10%, while we were when Dave was in seminary in grad school, we were scraping. I mean, every single penny was accounted for, and really, we were scraping. I was working, and then we had our first child, and I was still trying to do as much work as I possibly could, and Dave was in school and working. It was tight, and you all, many of you know how that is, and we applaud you for persevering during those tight times. But on paper, we never had enough money to tithe, but we were committed, and I'm so thankful that we were both committed to tithing, because God blessed it just like he said he would in the book of Malachi. See if I won't open up the floodgates and pour out the blessings. And he did. Did we have extra money all the time? No, but we had enough. And that was enough for us to continue to trust God with our earthly treasures and say, this is yours, Lord. You deserve you deserve our very best. You deserve the first that we can give you, not the leftovers. And we have seen it firsthand, and I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that as well, as you have stepped out in faith and trusted the Lord to keep his promises, because he does.
Yes.
There's so many scriptures. Many people might say, oh, that's an Old Testament idea. Well, yes, it is, but it's also in the New Testament. And one of the places that I'm sure that you have heard this before too, this is in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7. It says, each of you should give what you have determined in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, because God loves a cheerful giver. Now, I love that, because I love to laugh, pretty much doing everything. But the word cheerful in the original Greek actually means hilarious. So when next time you put your tithe in the offering, just start laughing. And first of all, people will maybe escort you out. But really, it is such a joy. It's the hilarity of it. The hilariousness doesn't come from it's a funny thing to do. It's a deep, joyful experience, and one that shows our love and commitment to the Lord. There's a funny little song, and I only remember a little bit of it, but I'm just going to sing some of it for you, because it goes like this. Be a hilarious giver whose heart is holy God's. That's all I remember, but I love that part, because you get to laugh and you're giving things to God, and it's such a wonderful experience. Be that hilarious giver, and laugh if you want to while you are giving your tithe.
Yeah. I'm sure your friends around you at church will enjoy that.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Jesus says, you should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. Well, what's he talking about? What's the latter? What's the former? In this generation, we often are focusing on, you practice justice, mercy, and the love of God, and that is appropriate. That is a highest priority. I mean, just in the sense of it's extremely high priority. And that's what Jesus is saying. You should practice that justice and mercy and love for God without neglecting tithing.
Right.
Some people will just seem to put that on the side, but they go together. Giving of our tithe is just as important, just as true in the scriptures from the words of Jesus Christ himself, that we are to be tithers. Mm-hmm. We are not to neglect justice, mercy, or the love of God, no more than we are to neglect tithing. It isn't simply Old Testament, it is also New Testament.
Right.
And we are to be practicing all of those things together. It is not a one or the other. Mm-hmm. Together, working with those things.
And that's where a lot of our growth in the Lord comes, because it does take some trust and faith to do those. It's easy to take some of those action steps to fight for justice, but to give up of something so personal like our money. We have heard it said that you can tell a person's priorities if you would look at their checkbook. Now, some of you are so young, you don't even know what a checkbook is. So just look at your bank statement, get online, check it out.
Yeah.
And it's very true. Where we devote most of our money really is a reflection of how we spend our time and what we consider important. And again, it's not to say that we can't give to other ministries. We feel very strongly that we tithe first to our local church, but we also have some other ministries that we are very passionate about and are able to give above and beyond when we're blessed to be able to do so. So we're not saying don't do that. We're just saying tithing is really important, and your local church is deserving of that, as well as is commanded. So another time in the New Testament, Jesus was observing some people in the temple, and this was in the book of Luke, chapter 21, the first few verses, and he saw these wealthy, rather probably, I don't want to say arrogant, but maybe some arrogant people. Not that wealthy or arrogant, we're not by any means intimating that at all.
No.
Many people who have been blessed with wealth are some of the biggest proponents of tithing, because they know from where their blessings have come. But in this particular instance, Jesus was observing, and some wealthy people came in, and they pompously dropped all of their money into the offering plate, or the offering bag, or the bamboo basket, whatever that was they might have had back then. And then a widow came, and she gave 2 copper coins, and she just dropped them in gently. And Jesus, in all of his wisdom and the master teacher that he is, says, this woman has given more than anyone else, because she gave out of her poverty everything she had, because she loved God. And that's not to say we need to give everything we have, but it needs to be a sacrifice on our part that starts with our heart. And oftentimes it's not equal giving so much as it is equal sacrifice. And being able to just express our love for the Lord by saying, Lord, it's yours. It's yours. Take it and use it for your work. And be ready for the blessings, because they will come.
And one of the blessings for me, as you know, I'm a pastor, is to have one of our folks who are not wealthy at all, don't make much money at all, but they come up and say, Pastor Dave, can I have some offering envelopes? And I'll tell you, friends, that blesses my heart, not because of how much they're going to give, but because, just like the widow's mite,
right,
but because of where their heart is and how they love Jesus, and they're giving just lovingly and joyfully and sacrificially and genuinely to the Lord. And how beautiful that is. That blesses my heart.
Absolutely.
Wonderfully.
It's very moving.
Yeah.
Very, very moving.
Well, we've talked about why should we give. Or we should talk about why we should give.
Well, we should.
Yeah. Why should we give? Well, there are a couple of good reasons. Number one is it's commanded. We've just gone over some scriptures. Both Old Testament, New Testament. It is commanded that we should give a tithe, that 10%, that first 10%, of our income to the Lord. And you might wonder, some people have asked, well, should it be off of my gross or off of my net? Well, I like what Dave Ramsey says. Well, in the United States, most of us Christians aren't doing either, so it doesn't matter.
Oh.
Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah.
But true.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Very. So pick.
Yes.
You know, whether it's gross or net, if you aren't tithing, start.
Right.
And that'd be a great thing, because it is a command of the Lord. It is a command of God to do so. Once again, to your local church. That's where it starts. Right there with the ministry of your local church. That's his command.
And really, why do we tithe? Why do we give back to the Lord? Because we love him.
Yes.
We love him. He has given us every good gift, and we love him. And we want to express that love. As the verses say, where our treasure is, there is our heart. So show the Lord where our heart is by giving him our treasures.
Yeah. Well, we want to ask you a question for the day, or actually a couple of questions. And the first one is this. If you are tithing, then in the comments below, write, where have you seen the blessings? What blessings have you received as a result of your tithing? Write us a little note about that.
Right. And if you're not tithing, perhaps share with us what's holding you back. And maybe just let us know, okay, I'll start just a little bit here and there. And that's what it takes. And I promise you, because God is faithful, that you will not be disappointed. You will not. You will be amazed over and over again.
And part of our blessing is to be able to be with you.
Yes.
And to pray that God will bless you through all of this. And that's exciting. And we want to just help others. That's truly our goal. We want to ignite an interest, desire, and action for those who are new or renewed in their walk with Jesus Christ. And we hope to do that with faith, family, and some fun.
Fun.
Yay! Hopefully you've had some of that today. Well, it is a great day. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen, and thank you for joining us. Lord bless you.
May it be so.